بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Islam Guide, being broadcasted to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And again, the objective of these series is nothing much, yet it is essential for us to restore the dignity and honor of Islam and the Ummah of Islam. And this can only be done if we go back to our religion, as the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam. And going back to our religion means going back to the basics, to the essentials of our religion. And without any doubt, the seerah, the biography, the life story, the events that took place at the time of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this seerah is a great source of information and knowledge, where we can learn how to behave, how to act, where we can learn how to audit our lives and the state of the Ummah, so that we can rectify what can be rectified to the best of our ability in accordance to the Quran and to the Sunnah. One great incident that took place was the Battle of Hunayn. And the Battle of Hunayn took place on the 8th year of Hijrah, only a couple of weeks after the conquest of Mecca. The Prophet came alayhi salatu wasalam with 10,000 soldiers, and he conquered Mecca without a fight. And in less than 2 weeks, he heard of 2 tribes adjacent to Mecca mobilizing to fight the Muslims. And usually there was no beef with them, as they say, before that. So this was quite strange. Why would they be so hostile? The tribe of Hawazin and the tribe of Thaqif. And they gave their leadership to one of them, Malik ibn Auf, who was not sound in his strategy nor tactics, like most leaders. And the event tells us that the Prophet ﷺ, in less than 2 weeks after the conquest of Mecca, managed to mobilize the army again and move towards Taif, the mountainous city. And he had his 10,000 troops with him, and 2,000 extra came from the inhabitants of Mecca, whom he had set free when he conquered Mecca. And this is quite astonishing. Someone who was chased out of his hometown after 53 years of living there, chased out of his wealth, of his loved ones, and all of the companions were with him, expelled from Mecca. When Allah Azza wa Jal grants him the victory over these people who killed his loved ones, who chased him out of it, they killed Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and so many. The moment he got hold of them, he gathered them in the masjid of Mecca, Al-Haram. And he said, "What do you think I'm going to do with you?" The norm is either execution for their crimes, or enslavement, or to be sold somewhere. So the people of Mecca said, you are an honorable, generous brother, and the son of an honorable, generous brother, referring to him and to his father. And they were in fear of their fate. The Prophet said, alayhi salam, go, you are free. Who would do such a thing other than a messenger and a prophet? Those who accepted Islam a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, they jumped the wagon and they said, we're coming with you to fight for the cause of Allah. So their Islam is still on shaky grounds. So the Prophet went with them, alayhi salatu wasalam, just after the break of dawn, not knowing that the tribes of Hawazin and Thaqif plotted a couple of days earlier and managed to hide behind the bushes and in the valleys, and they hid well so that they won't be detected. And the plan was, the minute the Muslims are within range, archers would shoot all what they have, and the whole army of the idol worshippers would attack at once. The Muslims were marching, not anticipating of what is awaiting for them, and all of a sudden they see arrows coming towards them from all directions. So they, without any thinking, turn their backs and flee the battlefield. They fled the battlefield because this is the only thing they could think of at the time. They were taken by surprise. Only the Prophet ﷺ and a handful of companions remained steadfast. The funny thing was that the Prophet ﷺ was not on a strong camel, nor was he on a fast horse. The Prophet was on his mule. Scholars say that no one would fight a battle and be at the front line on a mule. This is not an animal to fight on. However, due to the full trust of the Prophet ﷺ and confidence in Allah, he's so dependent on Allah, and he knows that victory would be at his side. It was every day's job to him. Full reliance on Allah. So, among those who remained with the Prophet ﷺ were Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, who was the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and his nephew, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Sufyan ibn Abdul Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib. And instead of the Prophet ﷺ retreating or concealing his identity, he started marching towards the enemy forces. And he says, أَنَا النَّبِيُّ لَا كَذِبْ أَنَا ابْنُ عَبْدِ الْمُطَّلِبِ. It is I, the Prophet. This is no lie. It is I, the son of Abdul Muttalib. And this shows you the bravery of the Prophet ﷺ. Al-Abbas is trying to hold the mule back. And when the army started marching, the Prophet ﷺ ordered Al-Abbas to raise his voice and call, because he had a loud voice. To call whom? He said, call the people of the tree. Who are the people of the tree? Well, a couple of years earlier, when the Prophet ﷺ came all the way from Medina to Mecca, while wars were still ongoing between the Muslims and the disbelievers, he, alongside with 1400 plus of his men, came in the attire of ihram to perform umrah. And the house is the house of Allah. We're not here to come and fight. We don't have our armors. We're coming to perform this ritual. For the first time in history, the idol worshippers blocked those worshippers who came for Umrah from entering Mecca. And the Prophet sent, alayhi salatu wasalam, Uthman ibn Affan to mediate with the idol worshippers, because he was from a prominent tribe, and Abu Sufyan, the head of the Mecca idol worshippers, was his cousin among so many of his tribe. So he went, and they received him in welcoming, to the extent that they told him, perform your Umrah, you are in your ihram. But Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, refused and said, I cannot perform Umrah while the Prophet ﷺ is outside, blocked from entering. I will perform it when he performs it. So they honored him, they gave him food, but they kept him from going back. Not as a prisoner, but rather as trying to catch up with him, with their relative, and honoring him, feeding him, etc. When he was a little bit late, Muslims by nature were worried at that time that these disbelievers would not honor this messenger of the messenger of Allah. Because the trend in Arabia, that messengers are not killed. And this is worldwide trend. You never kill the messenger. So when the Prophet sent Uthman, they were afraid that they might harm him, though this was not the norm in Arabia. So when he was late, suspicion grew. So they started talking that they must have killed Uthman. Only then the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that we will attack them, though we don't have any arms on us, nor armor, nor shields, nor we are not prepared, but we will avenge our brother if they had killed him. And in order to execute this, the Prophet ﷺ ordered the Muslims to give their pledge of allegiance, not to run away and to fight until they die. So they came, the 400 plus, all of them, one by one, under the tree which is located there. And it is mentioned in the Quran that Allah is pleased with those who give you the pledge of allegiance under the tree. Salam ibn al-Aqwa, may Allah be pleased with them, was one of them who gave the pledge of allegiance 3 times. He said, the Prophet called me in the beginning of the people, where is Salama? So I said, here I am, O Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet said, give the pledge of allegiance. So he gave the pledge of allegiance. And when it was in the middle of the people, like 700 of them, the Prophet said again, where is Salama? And Salama said, I'm here, but I've already given the pledge of allegiance. He said, give it again. So he gave it again. And at the last and the very end, the Prophet said, where is Salama? And Salama said, I'm here, O Prophet of Allah. He said, give the pledge of allegiance, and he gave it for the 3rd time. These fighters, who are actually worshippers, prevented from completing the ritual, Allah is pleased with them. May Allah be pleased with them all. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he wanted his people to come back, he did not call for the 10,000 or for the extra 2,000. He selected those whom he had raised by himself, those whom he knows their capabilities and their sincerity. So he said to his uncle Al-Abbas, call the people of the tree. So he did. And immediately, once they heard the voice of Al-Abbas calling them, each one of them turned back his camel. And if his camel was so frightened with all these crowds going one way and he's unable to go the opposite way, he would dismount his camel and walk on his feet, saying, here I come, O Prophet of Allah. Then the Prophet said to Al-Abbas, call the Ansar, especially Banu Haritha of the Khazraj. Then he said, call Al-Ansar in general. Then he said, call Al-Muhajirin. And the moment these people heard the call of the Prophet ﷺ calling them, they came back like warriors and beasts trying to protect its cubs. And the defeat was turned into victory in a matter of seconds. We have a short break. After it, inshallah, we will take your calls, but please try your level best to keep this story at the back of your mind, so that when we talk tomorrow, we begin a fresh start and elaborate a little bit on the benefits we can reap from such a beautiful story. So stay tuned.
Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Allah, we are your servants, Ya Allah.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Brother Zaki says, or Sister Zaki, does patient who dies due to brain and lung cancer can be within the category of martyrs? First of all, we know that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ classifying a number of fatalities to be under the category of martyrdom. So basically, those who die on the battlefield, fighting for the cause of Allah, fighting disbelievers, they are considered to be martyrs. The Prophet ﷺ told us that Allah Azza wa Jal has made other categories among the martyrs as well, yet they do not die on the battlefield. And among them, the Prophet said, the person who dies drowning, the person who dies in fire, out of burning, the person whose building collapses over his head, the person who dies in the plague, in the epidemic, the plague, a person who dies with an illness of the stomach known to the Arabs, and a person who dies while in labor, that is a woman, a pregnant woman. So these types are considered to be martyrs. Some scholars said that all types of illnesses fall under this category, and this is wrong, because the Prophet ﷺ did not mention other illnesses. He mentioned specific illnesses, and among them is the one who dies with the stomach illness. So if a person has a tumor or cancer in his stomach and he dies due to that, he is a martyr, inshallah. But if it's a brain tumor, then this is not included. Though if he's patient until he dies, he'll be rewarded without any doubt, but he would not fall under the category of martyrs. As for the lung cancer or the throat cancer, it's the same thing. Some would ask, okay, what about if a person dies out of throat cancer or cancer that was caused by drinking intoxicants, smoking, tobacco, etc.? Would he be part of the martyrs? The answer is no. Not anyone who dies in these categories would be automatically be considered as a martyr. For example, someone is on a ship, but this ship is like the Love Boat. It's a cruise ship with all booze and nightclubs and casinos and nudity and nothing that relates to Islam at all. And the guy is there for the fun of it. And it so happens that, I don't know if it hits an iceberg or not, but it sinks. And he dies drowning. So would his family be happy and saying, MashaAllah, he's a martyr? No, he's not. He said, yeah, but the hadith, hadith says about normal people, Muslims, normal Muslims, not sinners, who were actually doing a sin. Likewise, if a person, a woman, who conceived out of fornication, not married, and while she is in labor, she dies. So we say, MashaAllah, she's a martyr. This pregnancy was a result of haram. So she cannot be a martyr for, she was a fornicator, committing a major sin. So one has to look at the hadiths with respect and through the Islamic perspective, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is from Brother Amir. He says that if a brother breaks his fast through masturbating, is he still advised to stay away from food and drink until iftar time, or is there no point? First of all, anyone who intentionally breaks his fasting during the day of Ramadan without a legitimate reason, he is sinful. He is obliged to make up for that day, after Ramadan of course. Thirdly, he is obliged to continue fasting, even if a person drinks intentionally and he breaks his fasting. Afterwards he says, wow, what I have done, this is a mistake, I've broken my fast, but what the heck, let me even have lunch and a cold soda afterwards. The answer is no, this is another sin. Though your fasting is broken, but you're obliged to continue your fasting until sunset, though it's not valid anymore, but this is what you are ordered to do. Because breaking your fasting does not mean it's okay for you to do whatever you do and live life normally. On the contrary, it's a sin and you're obliged to continue your fasting, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Abdul Wahid, I think his name, he says that he has a doubt well, his doubt needs a long answer, and I would not do this now. Imran says that if a company uses words such as hell to describe erroneous situations in its product, is it permissible to use their products? In particular, Microsoft uses the phrase DLL hell to describe a problematic situation in its application. Is it considered to be making fun of religion? Is it okay to use the product of Microsoft? Well, to use a product of Microsoft or not, this is up to you. There is nothing wrong in using it. As for some of us who has this sensitivity towards any thought, any word, to the extent that I get tons of questions every day. Sheikh, I thought of this and that. So is it kufr? Am I a kafir? Should I say the shahada? A sister sent me an email saying that she was listening to a lecture of a sheikh and he repeated the word porn. So she's asking, is my fasting valid? And I was thinking, why? She said, because I heard the word porn so many times, and I also heard from shuyukh, from scholars, that watching porn or listening to porn invalidates your fasting. This is a big problem. If you don't know, ask, because the remedy for ignorance is asking. The problem is when you go beyond that and you assume things. Islam is a religion of nature. It's a logical religion. If you hear the word porn, doesn't mean that you are listening to porn or you're watching porn, and this does not affect your fasting. So the brother here is telling us that they use the term hell. So are they mocking? Not necessarily. And even if they're mocking, this is their own sin. As long as we can benefit from their products, if we need to benefit from it, akhi, the word hell is being used like 15 times a minute in people's rhetoric. So should we boycott all of them and maybe not speak to them at all, or this or that? This is an exaggeration that Muslims should try their level best to stay away from. The lines are open if there's anyone who has a question. And this is from Farhana. She says, I started reciting the Quran few months ago with the intention to finish it in the month of Ramadan. Is this permissible? Please, okay, to the rest of the question. First of all, may Allah Azza wa Jal grant you and your family and save you from all the dangers and pains that you are suffering from. As for the question, this is frequently asked. There is no obligation on us as Muslims for the amount of the Quran we should recite. And Allah Azza wa Jal told us to recite whatever is possible. So even if you recite 1 page a day, this is up to you. If you don't recite Quran at all except in your salat and your adhkar, this is up to you. You see, Jannah is made of levels. So if someone says, I'll only recite 1 page, it's like him saying, I take the ground floor. If someone says, I'd recite so much and much, I said, okay, this is the middle floor, or maybe the highest in paradise. So it depends on your intention, it depends on your enthusiasm, where you want to reach. So beginning 2 months before Ramadan, this is okay without any problem. It is recommended that you finish the Quran once every month. Muhammad from Gambia?
Yes.
Yes, Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah, I've been watching your program on so many occasions for my TV. And also, what people are like, one of my Muslim brother, alhamdulillah, is about the hell, or what they say in hell. Like what I believe, to my own side, like if anything that is beneficiary to Islam, so we are using, I think we shouldn't have a doubt that in it, like the name of hell, and they say that it's hell because it's beneficiary to us. So if they implement it in any other form that we Muslim do not see it in that way, I think there should not be a problem in. But my question is like here, the question I want to ask, like when you are fasting in the month of Ramadan, month of Ramadan, like you ejaculate unintentionally, does it affect your fast, or it's you have to continue fasting?
If you do what?
If you ejaculation.
Okay, intentionally or while asleep?
No, unintentionally.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, that's my question.
Okay, I will answer you inshallah. Brother Muhammad from Gambia said that what is the ruling on someone's ejaculating during fasting? And the answer is, and we mentioned this earlier on in the series, I believe, that it is one of the 7 things that nullify your fasting. And the 7th, we said that it is an issue of dispute. But ejaculating intentionally while awake, this is a major sin anywhere. And it is even greater during the month of Ramadan, and it is greater when you're fasting. It nullifies your fasting. You have to continue fasting until sunset, and you have to make up for that day, plus repenting and asking Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness. Abdul Majid from Saudi.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Assalamualaikum.
How are you?
I'm fine, Hayakallah.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes.
My uncle had an eye operation, and doctor advised to him to put eye drops 6 to 7 times per day.
To put what?
Eye drops.
Eye drops.
Medicine. So 6 to 7 times per day.
Okay.
So still he can have a fast, sir?
And the drops are in his eyes. He's not drinking it. No problem, akhi, at all, even if it's 10 times a day.
Yeah, 10 times. Even the nose and the eye also.
No, the nose is different.
Yeah.
The eye drops are not things that affect your fasting, even if you find the taste in your throat.
Yeah.
While nose drops are different, because nose drops would go into your stomach and you will swallow that. And this is why in the hadith of Laqit ibn Sabura, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet ﷺ ordered him to exaggerate while blowing his nose in wudu, while rinsing his nose up his nostrils and throwing the water out again. He said, exaggerate unless you're fasting. So the Prophet told us that if a person is fasting, this is a normal passage to your stomach through the nostrils. So no, nose drops must be avoided if possible. If it's not, and it's essential for him to be administered or to take these drops, then he may skip the fasting of these days and make them afterwards, inshallah. Do you have a questioner?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yes, akhi.
So while we're fasting, when we're cooking or cutting some vegetables, something, we just little finger cut and the blood will come little bit, something like this.
Okay.
In one drop, something. It's so what you said, sir?
Nothing is wrong with that. Your fasting is intact.
Yeah.
For bleedings and wounds do not affect your fasting. Your fasting is intact, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hayyak Allah, akhi. Yusuf has, not Yusuf, is it? Anam says, can a man say the 3 required divorces at the same time and divorce his wife? If the words are said in anger, is the divorce still valid? Okay, before we go to Anam's question, we have Dr. Anjum from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine.
I regularly following your programs and I'm very much impressed by your knowledge.
Jazakallah khair.
One question I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
That I'm in Saudi Arabia and here we offer 8 rakats of Taraweeh in our local mosque.
Okay.
Okay. But once we go for Umrah to Makkah or Medina, we offer 20 rakats.
Okay.
So this does. I'm confused. Why are you in our local mosques where I'm said that 8 rakats, there is a hadith regarding the 8 rakats, and I accept that. That's very good. But why we offer then 20 rakats in the Haram Sharif?
Okay.
Can you ask? Can you answer, please?
Any answer? Any question again?
You want me to repeat the question?
No. Do you have any other question?
Another question I have that 1 week after I am traveling to India. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I am traveling to India. If I want to keep a fast, so I will do sahur by the Saudi time, and Indian time is there is a difference of 2.5 hours. So once I reach to the India, once there is a fatur there, iftar there, but in Saudi it's not iftar that time. So should I break the fast by the Indian time or by the Saudi time?
Okay, I will answer you inshallah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hayyak Allah. Ruqayya from Gambia. Apparently we lost Ruqayya. So brother Anjum says he is confused why the local masjids in Saudi Arabia pray 8 rak'ahs while the 2 noble mosques in Mecca and Medina pray 20. Akhi, why make an issue out of it? Mother Aisha was asked, and the hadith is in Sahih Imam Muslim, and she said that the Prophet ﷺ did not pray in Ramadan or elsewhere more than 11 rak'ahs. Some folks took this hadith and said that you cannot pray anything more than 11, and if you do, you are innovating. However, Aisha herself, may Allah be pleased with her, said in another hadith that he used to pray 13 rak'ahs. Ibn Abbas said that he used to pray 13 rak'ahs, and other companions as well. So what do you want to do now? Is it 11 or 13? Not only that, the Prophet, when he was asked by a nomad, tell me about night prayer, the Prophet said night prayer is 2 by 2. And if you fear Fajr, make 1 rak'ah as witr. So the Prophet did not tell him, and he needed to explain to the man if there was a ceiling not to exceed 11. But he didn't. And he cannot delay or postpone informing him of this when the time is needed to do it now. And there are numerous reports that Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, ordered the companions to pray 20 rak'ahs in Taraweeh, led by Ubay ibn Ka'b and Tamim al-Dari. Therefore, the sky is the limit. If a masjid prays 11, alhamdulillah, this does the job. If another prays 15, 17, 21, 23, this is no problem, inshallah. But to restrict it is like coming and saying that you can only perform once in your lifetime Hajj. You cannot perform twice. Why? Because the Prophet only performed Hajj once. He did not restrict it. This is what had happened. So I hope this answers your question. Nadia from Saudi.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, I have a few questions.
Yes.
My question one is the woman who get periods during the fasting, so she has to make up after Ramadan, of course, but I want to know that if it is like before Maghrib time, Asar or Zuhr time, so this fast she has to make up. But is she not allowed to drink and eat like you explained about the sinners? So she is allowed to eat, or she has to continue till Maghrib?
Okay.
But she has to make up.
Second question.
My second question is when we perform Umrah in Ramadan, it's the hadith right that we get the reward of Hajj performing with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But is this Umrah should be, and if it is in Ramadan, is it sufficient, or it should be during the fasting time, like before Maghrib, when the person is fasting, or
Okay.
it is okay if it is in Ramadan?
Third question.
Like after Isha or after Maghrib. And my third question is, Once I asked you a long time back about the shortening the prayer in traveling, you said that it is must, like fasting is okay, but prayer is must to shorten it because Prophet ﷺ never pray full during the travel. I want to ask you that when we are going to Makkah and we are praying in Haram, of course with the Imam we pray the full prayer. But that time, are we allowed to pray the Sunnah also? For example, the Zuhr prayer, if we are praying, with the Imam we pray full, but the Sunnah before Zuhr and after Zuhr, before and after that too, this is we are allowed to pray or not?
Where are you from?
From Riyadh.
Okay.
So, yeah, in
Okay.
any traveling, the
Okay.
Sunnah we have to pray or not?
I understand your question. Any more?
Yeah. And my third question is, what is the meaning of praying the prayer in the awal waqt? Awal waqt means, for example, if the Zuhr is 12 o'clock and the Asr is 3:20, 3:25. So for Zuhr, what is the best time? I mean, how many minutes it includes?
Okay.
To be awal waqt, okay?
And
my
last question, inshallah.
Okay, last question. Sheikh, my mother died in January, and I went to Umrah in February, and in the Haram, I wanted to give some charity on behalf of her. So there I found some people standing over there, but they were guiding the people to the right path. I went to ask him that I want to pay some sadaqah for my mother. So he told me that there is in the clock tower or something, there is the dawa, they are there. But that time I was in hurry because I have to go back. So that man, he told me that, okay, you can give it to me. He was from, I don't remember the name, Dawa, something from that team. And he said, okay, you pay me, I will give it to them. But he didn't give me receipt. That time I just paid. After that, my husband told me, did you never know that I said, no, he was, inshallah, he will be the good person because he was standing in Haram and he was guiding the people. So is this sadaqah is accepted if, for example, he will not give it to the right place?
Okay, I will answer inshallah later on. Amina from Gambia. Amina? Sister Amina? Okay, I think.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamatullah. Amina? Okay, I hope the caller calls from a better line. Dr. Anjum says that a question that a lot of the times the brothers make a common mistake. They're confused when they hold their fast according to country and they travel to another country and they reach at the time of iftar and the previous country had not. So they are confused. Akhi, it does not concern you a bit about the country before or the country after. This has nothing to do with you. How is that? I will answer you inshallah after taking Ruqayya from Gambia. Ruqayya?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Samtullah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it true that if you borrow money from the bank and you are paying interest, that you are not the sinner, it is the bank that is the sinner? Because we have had a lot of arguments about this. So they say if you are the one paying back the interest, you are not the one sinning, that it's the person taking the interest that is a sinner.
Okay.
Please answer the question, Sheikh.
I will answer you inshallah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, Dr. Anjum, Akhi, once you understand this, you will have no problem inshallah in the future. As an individual, my fasting begins when the dawn breaks. As an individual, my fasting ends when the sun sets. I could care less about what's happening in Saudi or in India or in America. What I'm concerned with is me and the position of the sun. So if I hold my fast at 4:30 in Saudi Arabia, AM. So now it's daytime. I travel. And because I'm going to the east, I'm running after the sun. And therefore, after like 9 to 10 hours, it's already setting, and I'm still on the plane. It's still 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon in Saudi. Yet I can see the sun setting. This is the time where I am supposed to break my fast. Regardless of the time of the people in India or in Saudi Arabia, as I'm flying, my fasting and my prayer times are affected by the position of the sun. So even if they did not pray Asr in Saudi Arabia, if the sun's position is the time for Asr, I'll pray Asr. If the sun sets, I'll pray Maghrib, regardless of the time in Saudi Arabia or in India or anywhere else. So it is your duty to follow whatever the sun is and accordingly calculate your time. Nadia says that if a woman in her menses gets her menses during the daytime of Ramadan, her fast is void, correct? Does she have to refrain from eating and drinking? Not at all. She can drink and eat and does whatever she wants to do without any problem, because she's not like that sinner. She says that Umrah in Ramadan equals a Hajj with the Prophet ﷺ. This is wrong. Umrah in Ramadan equals a Hajj. The addition of with the Prophet ﷺ is disputed upon. So she says, is it a must that it's performed while a person is fasting? No, even if you perform it during the month of Ramadan, but at night time or before Fajr, there's no problem in that. The same reward is there. She says she heard me say that shortening prayer while traveling is a must. No, it's not a must. It's a highly recommended sunnah. So if she is in Al-Haram, does she pray Dhuhr's sunnah, Maghrib and Isha? The answer, no, because she's traveling. And I ask her, why is she from, where is she from? Because if she were from Jeddah, Jeddah and Mecca is not considered to be traveling distance. So they pray full and they pray the sunnah. But anyone else, he's considered to be traveling. She says, what's the meaning of praying at the beginning of the time? Meaning after the adhan is given, you pray. This is the beginning of the time. If you gave money to someone to give it to you on your behalf, and you trusted that person, even if he does not take it to the proper channels, it is inshallah counted for at the side of Allah. And finally, Ruqayya from Gambia, she says that there's a confusion. Some people say if we borrow from a bank with interest, with riba, it's the bank who is sinful. I'm not sinful. These are people without knowledge, and it's totally prohibited to speak without knowledge. The Prophet said, alayhi salam, in the authentic hadith, may Allah curse the one who gives riba and the one who takes riba, takes the loan, and the one who writes it down, the accountant, and the two witnesses. The Prophet said afterwards, they are all in the sin alike. So the giver and the taker, they share the same sin. No one would say that I'm forced to take it, so my sin is lesser. It's the same. Even the registrar is cursed like the one giving and like the one taking, and also the witnesses. This is all the time we have. Until we meet tomorrow same time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.